UPNG students to pay full fees. Over 9,000 new intakes accepted. And crocodile found in Lae City drain.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Monday's news. More than 9,000 new intakes around the country have been accepted to pursue further studies at institutions of higher and technical education. The national selection completed last December saw participation of selectors from over 35 recognized institutions throughout the country. According to a media release from the Higher Education Department, this year's selection process has revealed an increase of new intakes.
A total of 9,924 school leavers will pursue further studies at higher education and technical institutions around the country. According to the media release, the selection process increase has shown 200% increase from the previous 2005-2006 selection of 5,235. This is a result from the government's investment within the higher education sector and recognition and accreditation of new institutions and programs under the Higher Education Act. The acceptance list of new intakes has been released on the Higher Education Research, Science and Technology website and will be on print media this Wednesday. While the 2017 Admissions and Tests Awards for continuing students will also be published on Wednesday. Meanwhile, in line with the government's commitment to APEC and other priority areas, starting this year, awarding of the Tertiary Education Student Assistance Scheme or TESA scholarship is now targeted for areas in agriculture, science, technology, engineering and maths. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
Students attending the University of Papua New Guinea are expected to pay their tuition fees in full before the start of the 2017 academic year. Acting Chancellor Dr. Nicholas Mann says the university is going through tough times with serious shortfalls to run academic programs. This includes the second half of the 2016 semester 2 and the 2017 academic year.
Students to be enrolled at the University of Papua New Guinea this year will have to pay full fees when the 2017 academic year resumes in April. Dr. Mann told MTV News the second half of the 2016 academic year was not a budgeted program. Therefore, some additional fees will be charged because of the crisis.
The university, as far as it's concerned, is that the fee has been set by the council, and the normal fee for 2017 has been set, and that is what they will pay. If the government does pay, or the promise of the government is fulfilled by the money that has been promised, but if it doesn't come in, then the council has decided that an additional amount will be added on to the 2017 fee to cater for the cost that is going to be incurred from January 15 to March. The normal academic period for the university, of course, starts in March and ends in October.
The second semester for the 2016 academic year resumes on January 15 to March. The 2017 academic year will begin in April. The University Council has instructed the tuition fee structure for new and continuing students be revised to ensure all academic programs and non-academic services be delivered in a timely and professional manner.
Has been done, and the second half of semester 2 is yet to be completed, and so when the students return on the 15th of January, they will resume classes.
A deadline has been set for new intakes for the 2017 academic year to pay their full tuition fees by February 13. Failure to do so will result in the placements being forfeited.
They meet that requirement. If they don't, then they lose their placement. That's for those that have been selected coming into the grade 12s. Now, others that are continuing there are arrangements in place that so those things will apply.
Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, the national government's promise of 12 million kina is yet to be released to the University of Papua New Guinea. This was confirmed by Dr. Nicholas Mann.
Despite promises by the national government to release the 12 million kina to the University of Papua New Guinea, it hasn't. Last week, UPNG released a statement outlining the grievances over this promised funding approved through the National Executive Council's decision last year to support the recommencement of teaching and learning activities to complete semesters 1 and 2 of the 2016 academic year. Chief Secretary to Government Isaac Lupari assured UPNG after media reports saying funding were to be released today. However, Acting Chancellor Dr. Nicholas Mann told MTV News in a telephone interview they're still waiting for the promised 12 million kina.
But to date, we haven't received it. The university hasn't received it, so the university will go ahead and implement the decision that was reached by the council, and that is to actually offset the cost onto the students, the cost of running those academic programs within the vacation period.
The university's main concern was the lack of funding, which impacted the quality of academic programs and the graduates. Dr. Mann said to make this a reality, the promised government financial support must be forthcoming.
The students will meet that cost, and that's a normal thing that's done anywhere around the world, where the students pay for things that they are receiving. So that's a normal thing. It's not an abnormal thing or something odd, but it's a normal thing, and the University Council has decided to do that since the promises of the government has not been fulfilled.
Dr. Mann said they cannot close the university and will proceed with the 2016-2017 academic year. Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
A young freshwater crocodile was found and captured this morning in a drain outside a company premises in Lae. The crocodile was caught by an employee of Jim Tapaco Investment at Kamkumung who trapped it using a live chicken. Residents along the area have been warned to be wary when in the area where the crocodile was found, as there could be more.
This slim-snouted reptile of about 1.5 meters in length, grey in color with dark patches along the sides and top of the body, was caught in this drain. The drain leads all the way to this area, believed to be the gateway of the crocodile. A senior mechanic of the company says there could be more breeding under the same drainage area. So you must get sample stuff in because plant the crocodile Freshwater crocodiles inhabit freshwater environments, including rivers, creeks and swamps. The crocodile was discovered last week Friday by an employee of JT Investment, a trucking company located at Kamkumung. It was trapped using a live chicken tied to a hook and placed into the drain where the company usually disposed wastes. This drain leads all the way to Bumbu River, which is used by the residents for cooking, washing and drinking. Meanwhile, the company calls on the community to stay away from the area for safety reasons while they seek further assistance. All man of farmers come to research and find out where I'm coming. No good to him. I'm coming to sample man. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
Among stories after the break, a compensation payment refused, and overseas, Queen Elizabeth makes a public appearance after being ill. Stay with us. Welcome back. Court cases at the Committal Court in Waigani are now being heard at the newly constructed court complex. The building is situated next to the Waigani National Library, but within the court premises. The new complex houses the Committal Court Registry, 4 courtrooms and an ablution block. The building is funded by the national government through the law and justice sector. The old building is being demolished. Guns-related violence in the highlands region of Papua New Guinea has drawn much skepticism about the progress of the 2017 national elections. With only 3 months to go before the issue of wreaths, people have been resorting to the barrel of the gun to lobby support for the national elections. This has prompted the government to impose a gun moratorium to control the use of firearms in the hands of ordinary people.
The issue of firearms still remains a detrimental issue in the islands region where high-powered guns have been smuggled in to gain and lobby support during elections. This is something the government, through a collaborative effort with the police and defense force, have been tasked to look into. During a gun summit held in Port Moresby last year, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill announced for the gun moratorium laws to be introduced in Papua New Guinea to control and regulate the use of firearms. Yesterday, Tari police officer Daniel Yangen posted on Facebook that several suspected criminals with guns were apprehended by Wabek-based Mobile Unit 11. The recent deployment of police and defense force personnel to provide security during the national elections in the islands region is a way forward to reduce the use of high-powered firearms by locals who have not been through proper gun training or school on how to operate these firearms. The challenge now is for the government to rectify the gun moratorium laws to regulate and control gun violence in the country. Eric Arupman, National EMTV News.
A compensation of 25,000 kina for a death was refused this afternoon at Saraga in the 6 Mile area in Port Moresby. Relatives of the deceased from Simbu disagreed with the amount offered by the traditional landowners of Saraga. The landowners attempted to make peace after it was alleged that one of their sons murdered the man from Simbu province.
It is alleged that a man from Simbu was murdered by another man from Koyari in December 2016. The matter was reported to police. However, it was decided that it will be settled outside of the court. Thus, the Simbu community demanded that their funeral costs and the repatriation of the deceased will be paid for by families of the Koyari men. They were given 3 weeks to pay the compensation.
Papua New Guinea kam stop lo giram lo tubuna lo misaranga pawa lo mit tubla papa stop. You gonna come stop lo one place and place lo mo tubai tabuye. You gonna come stop lo saraga em you me come one family now. Suppose you like you me pull him tight in you me cross you by go away na me by go away and place lo you me stop here. You me not go lo one place.
The initial compensation stands at a value of 35,000 kina. However, it did not go down well when the Simbu community refused to accept the 25,000 kina in cash. Instead, they only accepted the 5 pigs, which were presented to them as part of the compensation. The 5 pigs in total value up to 10,000 kina. The refusal to accept the full compensation means the 6 Mile Mediation Committee will look for another avenue to come to a compromise with both communities and restore peace in the Saraga area. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Concerned residents turned up at the Lae EMTV office with a child who had gone missing. The boy, Junior Ben Petrus, was found at the Morbe Park Vocal Point after he was abandoned by a boat operator. 7-year-old Junior Ben Petrus says he comes from Oro Province and Mendi in the Southern Highlands and resides with his widowed mother in Popondetta. He is currently residing with Robert Gawi and family at Bumbu Settlement. The family has appealed for his parents or guardians to come forward.
Nta sleep looking company B so sagok si diway na kam dia. Tago sleep lap na munin takam. Tago ke Krishna mane niya lo solwarana. Mane takama plea lo san takama plea na nem. Anem and me one boat, one boat, one three boat, just like Krishna sem takana kala prodisla boat nam taka. Ampla boat esta nam takala blokare nampla kantalo one town liana ampla lusampla mana meri no godana ampla goleru kuna mi plagodanda apna ke mi mixi bus market na mi karap market ba mi gonna to sem when DC Chinatown na bumbu na mi kalap lo isla na mi kaman lo when DC na stop na mi goda na mi kawasa slow na mi stop online all kisimi.
Turning overseas, Britain's Queen Elizabeth made her first public appearance in 2017 yesterday when she attended a church service at Sandringham on her Norfolk estate. She missed her traditional church services on Christmas and New Year's Day, leading to wide coverage of her condition in British media. Buckingham Palace said she had fallen ill with a heavy cold. Britain's longest reigning monarch has recently cut down on her public duties as she enters her 10th decade. The Queen's regular trips from her estates to church for worship attracted crowds of well-wishers, and those on Sunday reacted with pleasure at her appearance.
Obviously the Queen's been a bit unwell.
Yes.
How was she looking, Claire? Was she all right?
Yeah, she was looking quite good actually. I actually came on Christmas Day, so it was quite sad to not see her come, but obviously the circumstances she wasn't very well. So to see her today, she did look quite bright in the car, and that was quite nice really.
And did you see her coming out?
Yes. Yeah, we saw her, in her bright blue, which was lovely,
Yes, very nice to see that she's back. Yeah.
How did you see her?
Looked yes, we saw her very close up, and she looked a little bit frail, to be honest, but it's nice to see her. We've been waiting for probably the last 3 weeks to know that she's attended the Sandringham church on a Sunday and on New Year's Day, but obviously this is the first time, so yes, it's very, very nice to see her, yes.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3150 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3075 $0.4196 Australian dollars, €0.2895 and 35.74 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa and copra all closed the day lower. Palm oil, crude oil and copper all closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 64.51 points higher. The ASX is trading at 51.86 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 48.71 points higher. More stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. A powerful storm lashed California and other parts of the western United States yesterday, bringing floods and the risk of dangerous mudslides to a state that has struggled with drought for years. As of this morning, the Weather Office predicted that the storm will continue for hours.
In Oregon and parts of Washington state and Idaho, the storm was expected to bring ice through this evening, creating hazardous conditions. James said the highest elevation of the Sierra Nevada mountain range in California could get 3 to 7 feet, 0.9 to 2.1 meters of snow by Monday. In Northern California, officials reported power outage and roads closed due to overflowing rivers. The National Park Service said all roads to the valley in Yosemite National Park were closed because of expected flooding. The storm is drawing its strength from the interaction between an atmospheric river, a long plume of water vapor flowing from the tropics towards the west coast, and a low-pressure area near Oregon, according to James. After years of drought, the storm is the latest incident in a strong wet season for California that begins in the fall. Another front is expected to move into the area on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the eastern United States experienced cold temperatures on Sunday, the day after a massive storm dumped snow from Georgia to Massachusetts, causing hundreds of car accidents and knocking out power of thousands of people. Sawato Hambu, EMTV World News.
Crews went to work to clean up the site of a shooting spree that claimed the lives of 5 people at a Florida airport. And Esteban Santiago, a 26-year-old U.S. military expert, was arrested after running out of ammunition and calmly walking through the baggage claim area with a handgun.
6 other people were wounded in the attack, while about 36 suffered bruises or broken bones in the chaos as people scattered for cover. Authorities say they have not ruled out terrorism as a motive. They say Santiago admitted planning the attack and told them he bought a one-way ticket to Florida from his home in Alaska. He could face the death penalty if convicted of federal charges, including carrying out violence at an airport. Authorities say the gunman arrived on a connecting flight from Alaska and retrieved the water weapon from his checked luggage before loading it in a bathroom. According to a criminal complaint, he then returned to the baggage claim and walked while shooting in a methodical manner some 10 or 15 times, aiming at his victims' heads. On Saturday, it emerged that police in Alaska had taken a handgun from Santiago in November last year, but then returned it to him about a month later after a medical evaluation found he was not mentally ill. Santiago is due in federal court in Fort Lauderdale on Monday. Merlin Diaukatam, EMTV World News.
A Palestinian rammed his truck into a group of Israeli soldiers on a popular promenade in Jerusalem last Sunday, killing 4 people and injuring about 15 others in what police said was a deliberate attack. The driver, who police identified as a Palestinian from Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem, was shot dead.
It was the deadliest Palestinian attack in Jerusalem in months and targeted officer cadets who were disembarking a bus that brought them to Armon Hanatsev Promenade.
It was obviously a clear and direct attack that took place.
The Israeli military regularly takes soldiers on educational tours of Jerusalem, including the Armon Hanatsev, which gives a panoramic view of the walled old city. Leah Schreiber, an Israeli tourist guide who led one of the soldiers' groups on the promenade, witnessed the attack.
I hear my soldiers shouting and screaming, and I didn't understand, and I'm looking behind my soldiers. I'm just seeing a truck that went on the side road and hitting the soldiers, and some of the soldiers started shooting on the chauffeur.
A dozen bullet holes punctured the windscreen where soldiers had repeatedly fired.
It took them some time to kill them, so he had time to make a reverse just to go back with his truck.
Channel 10 television said the soldiers' tour guide also fired at the assailant. Police gave very little information about the dead victims, 3 women and 1 man, saying only that they were all in their 20s. Soldiers' deaths are announced in Israel only after families are notified. National police said they could not rule out that the Palestinian was inspired by a truck ramming attack in Berlin Christmas market that killed 12 people last month. His uncle Abu Ali named him as Fadi Ahmad Hamdan Kunbor, 28, a father of 4. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the crime scene said he was likely a supporter of Islamic State. Palestinian street assaults over the past 15 months have killed at least 37 Israelis and 2 visiting Americans. Israel says one of the main causes of the violence has been incitement by the Palestinian leadership, with young men encouraged to attack Israeli soldiers and civilians. The Palestinian Authority, which exercises limited self-rule in the West Bank, denies that allegation. Melissa Gaviro, EMTV World News.
Chukai Sports is next. Marty Lae shines for PNG basketball in the US. Stay tuned.
Crocodile Sports.
Welcome to Crocodile Sports. PNG international basketballer Marty Lae is making a name for himself in the United States after leaving Brisbane, where he played for Ipswich Grammar School with an average 24 points, 10 rebounds and 5 assists per game. Lae is linked to Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, averaging 2 points per game in 10 minutes per contest, and has been the team's constant option off the bench.
Marty Lae burst out onto the international arena when he made a decision to represent his mother's homeland of PNG, playing for the men's national team in 2015 Pacific Games after he was contacted by coach Joel Kalu. Lae was among several Australian players with Papua New Guinea roots who took part in the Pacific Games. The soon-to-be local cult hero averaged 14 points and 8 rebounds for the Papua New Guinea side that finished 4th placed after a defeat from Fiji. It was his dynamic style of playing that soon caught the eyes of several university teams from the United States, before his call-up from Western Kentucky Hilltoppers first-year coach Rick Stansbury. The 6'5", 210-pound guard has improved steadily with his game and has played 16 games for the Hilltoppers, a team that has won 5 straight games in Division I college basketball competition. Now almost halfway through his first year in America, Lae is only getting better and the Hilltoppers are beginning to put things together as a team. Lae's former coach Joel Kalu say he has strengthened his profile even further by playing in Division I college basketball and is a role model for the sport in PNG, and no doubt the fans in Papua New Guinea will be looking forward to the next time they get to see him play in red, black and gold. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
The NCD Eastern Highlands Buzz Saraga Hanua Rugby League competition is an annual event which brings out youths from settlements around Port Moresby and keep them occupied at the start of the new year. Chairman Benny Kene said the aim for this year's competition is to select a squad which will travel later in the year to Goroka to participate in the Simon Sear Cup tournament.
With the competition now into its 7th year, off-season rugby league has always been a draw card that brings youths together at the start of the year. This year is no different to the last 6 years, says Chairman Benny Kene, as the NCD Eastern Highlanders Buzz Saraga Hanua Cup rugby league competition continues to attract up-and-coming rugby league talents to participate in the off-season tournament.
It's an ongoing competition. We started from PRL, 2nd division, and this is my 7th year as the head of this organization. First time we play all Eastern Highlands alone, living in NCD which I play. But for this season, we have opened a door to other provinces.
He says the aim of the competition from the beginning was to unite all Eastern Highlanders living in Port Moresby through sports.
The whole aim is to unite people of Eastern Highlands living in NCD through means of sports, to excel in one way or another. And I have produced many notable players from this league. Many of them are currently playing in this World Cup.
He added players will be selected from the current competition to select a side to attend the Simon Sear Cup in Goroka. With 6 more rounds to the grand final, Kenneth said he is hoping to get the grand final over to the National Football Stadium, where each team will participate in their respective pool finals. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
In netball, Pepe's goal shooter Jepet Tulapi, mid-court Shana Dringo and defender Kilala Owen recently got an invitation to participate in the Singapore Netball Super League. The invitation from Singapore Netball came after the trio made their appearance in the 2016 Nations Cup in Singapore. Their short stint with this elite competition will be from March 28 to April 30. This is a plus for the Pepes as they prepare for the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Crocodile Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Crocodile Sports.
Welcome back to Crocodile Sports. FIFA recently announced a short list of 55 professional players vying for the 2016 FIFA Pro World 11. FIFA Pro is the worldwide football players union. And there are 7 categories: the best men's and women's players, best FIFA men's and women's coach, as well as FIFA Puskar Award 2016, the FIFA Fan Award and the FIFA Fair Play Award. In contention for the top men's and women's players include some of the world's top-ranked defenders, strikers and midfielders. Among them are Argentina's Lionel Messi and Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo, both of whom have had their fair share of Player of the Year wins. Votes for the nominees come from professional footballers in 75 countries. The winners will be announced later tonight at the Best FIFA Football Awards ceremony in Zurich. To golf, Justin Thomas recovered from a late double bogey and held off a last-day challenge by Japan's in-form Hideki Matsuyama to clinch his 3rd PGA Tour victory by 3 shots at the SBS Tournament of Champions in Hawaii on Sunday. Thomas closes with a 4-under par 69 to win first PGA event of the year, while Matsuyama finished in the 2nd place with a 70.
Thomas then benefited from a 2-shot swing at the par 4 17, where he sank a 3-footer for birdie after Matsuyama had 3-putted for bogey, and also birdied the last 2 close with a 4-under 69 in the PGA Tour's opening event of the year. The long-hitting American had been in commanding 5 strokes in front, with 5 holes to play at the Kapalua Resort on the island of Maui, before his lead was stunningly cut to just 1 after 15 holes. The 23-year-old from Kentucky, whose previous 2 victories on the circuit had both come at the CIMB Classic in Malaysia, finished with 22 under total of 270 in the Elite 32 men winners-only field. Matsuyama, who had triumphed for 4 times in his previous 5 starts worldwide, placed 2nd after closing with a 70. Shane Saroya, MTV World Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region, showers and rain in Port Moresby, thundery showers in Daru and Kerema, and showers in Alotau and Popondetta. In the Momase region, thundery rain and showers in Lae, showers in Madang and Wewak, a shower or 2 in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, a shower or 2 in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, and a shower or 2 in Buka as well. And in the Highlands region, showers and rain in all centres. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samarai Island, waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, Samarai Island to Cape Vogel, to Finschhafen, Finschhafen through Vitiaz Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Long Island, Medang to Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo to northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, New Island to New Britain to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Sea slight with northwest to southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Solomon Sea, sea slight with northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate with northwest winds at 15 to 20 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with west to southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
Before we go, in what was described as a downward spiral for Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto's popularity, thousands took to the streets yesterday in protest over hiking gas prices in the country. As part of a gradual year-long liberalization promise made by Peña Nieto administration, gas prices rose from 14 to 20% as of January 1st. Now, as Mexico erupts in mass protest, President Nieto resorts to national television, appealing for understanding.
President Enrique Peña Nieto, in his defense, argues that with the rise in international oil prices and Mexico dependent on gasoline imports, the government has no option apart from increasing gas prices. During his speech last Thursday, President Nieto, while appealing to some 120 million Mexicans for understanding, was seen gesturing at the camera while saying, "What would you have done?" Mexicans responded swiftly on social media in an eruption of disgust and recommendations. Among them, combat corruption and impunity and eliminate gasoline vouchers for elected officials. Many called for increased tax for multinational companies, others suggesting to cut salaries and benefits for high-level government officials or to sell the presidential plane. Many even suggested to reduce First Lady Angelica Rivera's wardrobe spending. Having faced a tough week and coming into another tough one, 50-year-old Nieto seems to be trapped in a downward spiral of unpopularity, with about 2 years remaining in his presidential term and Mexico reeling from countless battles such as corruption, a climbing homicide rate, and a thriving drug trafficking industry, to name a few. The few voices of support for President Nieto from political circles and news commentators have been drowned by the massive decry. The discontentment boiling over into looting and protests set off clashes with security forces last week, resulting in several deaths and over 1,500 arrests. With Mexicans already facing rising inflation, the backlash against the new prices has been dramatic. Student Damaris Hoyos said that a rise in the prices of fuel ends up affecting every segment of society.
A nosotros como estudiantes, pues claro, porque usamos el transporte público. Por ejemplo, yo vivo en el Estado de México. Me hago un tiempo de traslado aproximadamente de 2 horas a mi centro de estudio.
Lorraine Gabina, EMTV World News.
Australia is about to introduce 5G internet speeds to the country. Telstra is leading the way in this newest venture, which looks to be in place by 2019.
Australia's internet speeds have copped years of criticism, but now Telstra is talking about turbocharging them with world-beating 5G technology. Its chief executive telling a major US tech show he wants to start delivering the next generation mobile broadband in time for next year's Commonwealth Games.
So we're working with many global operators and technology companies to bring 5G to Australia, at the very early stages.
Telstra's current 4G connection speed can reach 150 megabytes per second, with mobile towers sending sporadic signals. 5G will be 130 times faster, roughly 20 gigabytes per second, with a constant connection. An episode of Home and Away will take just 5 seconds to download, 10 seconds for Game of Thrones. But more speed is about more than just entertainment. ClinicCloud sells devices that monitor people's health, sending that information to doctors over the net.
By diagnosing pneumonia early, or telling someone who's having an acute exacerbation of asthma they should go to hospital, being able to monitor things like heart failure at home.
They argue current networks are sluggish and any upgrade could save lives.
5G will kind of put Australia right back on the map.
Optus and Vodafone are also testing the new technology along with university researchers.
Before long you'll be hearing about 6G. And we don't know what it means yet, but of course our researchers are ready to investigate.
Telstra says a nationwide rollout could begin by 2019.
Now recapping our main stories for tonight. UPNG says students will need to pay full fees this year. Over 9,000 new intakes accepted at tertiary institutions, And young freshwater crocodile found in Lae City drain. And that's been the news, sports and weather this Monday, January 9, 2017. On behalf of the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.